day, in being the day of Jum'ah, the best day of the week, khairul ayam al-usbu', and also that we are in the blessed month of Ramadan and we are fasting, alhamdulillah. So there are a number of things which go in our favor, inshallah ta'ala, to allow us to have hope in that our supplications and our du'as will be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now many a time when you're reminded to make dua, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should remember that we are calling upon one who there is no boundaries with regards to His mercy. Meaning that we can never limit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. There are billions of people on earth. Every single one of them has their own unique situation. Everyone has their needs and wants. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears every single person and answers every single person, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim. In this worldly life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to them and answers their supplication. So what about a person who is fasting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A person who is their full attention and love set to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what chance do they have in their supplication being answered? It would be hoped that they would be from the highest likely of their supplications of being answered. And we remember the verses in the Quran, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَدُعُونِي أَسْتَجِبَ لَكُمْ. And your Lord said, call upon me and I will answer you. And this is a verse, brothers and sisters, that when you read it once, it is very powerful. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَدُعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord has said, declared, call upon me and I will answer. It is almost every time that you say the verse, it becomes more powerful. And you remind yourself of the grandeur and how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. All upon us is to ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will give to you. And all Allah Jalla wa ala wants from you is to be sincere. Just to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Him directly. Not to go through any intermediary, not to go through anybody else, just between you and your Lord. Just as you keep secret your fasting, that nobody knows else about it. When you meet a person, you can't see that they're fasting. So this is a secret between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has its own special reward. When you call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your sujood, or after your salah, or any time, remember the verse, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَدُعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord has said, call upon me and I will answer. And if we remember this, we have lots of hope, inshallah ta'ala, to look forward to.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Our next question is going to come from our caller. So, assalamu alaikum to our next caller of the show. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm calling from London. And my question is, sorry?
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. And the question is for the young children who are 12 or 13, can they skip the fast or they have to go through all the 30 or 29 fasting, you know?
Okay, and 12 to 13 years old, right?
Yeah, and the next question is, I have three quick questions for regarding Salah. One is, can we do the Salah with closed eyes or we have to open the eyes all while we are praying? And the second question is, you know, the people are praying and someone walk through in front of them in the house or, you know, somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the third question, when someone is praying and they just break their salah with, I mean, not very valid reason, is that okay? They can break their salah, especially first salah, or they have to carry on the first salah?
All right then. Thank you so much for your question, sister. Stay tuned and inshallah they will be answered for you right now. You can listen in either through the phone or you can listen in through your television, inshallah. So the sister's first question, Shaykh, was about 12 to 13-year-olds. Do they need to fast the entire month of Ramadan or is it sufficient that they only fast some days?
So with regards to the obligation of fasting, it's not measured by your age. But it is measured by when a person becomes baligh, when they become morally responsible, when they can to be considered an adult Islamically. And that age may differ, hence me saying it's not based upon age. Once you hit 13, that's it. There are signs of a person becoming an adult. If, for example, a female, when she starts her menstrual cycle, this is a sign that she has reached the age of puberty, and then the obligations of prayer and fasting are upon that on that sister. And as for the other signs which are shared between both men and women, and that is if there is a coarse hair that is growing around the private area, this is a sign of adulthood. And also, if they were to have a wet dream, this would also be a sign of adulthood. If there are none of these signs, then when they reach the age of 15, the Islamic year is 15, not the Gregorian calendar. So if you think about when they're born on the 1st of January, 15 years from them, that would be too late. You have to go through the Islamic calendar when they're 15, if there's no signs before that, okay? So once they reach the age of puberty, once they're baligh, then the obligation is upon them. If they happen to be 12 or 13 or 14, then the obligation is upon them. And it would have been, you'd like to hope that, you know, the children, the youngsters, that throughout the years they have been practicing fasting. So it's not like a jump from not fasting at all, or hardly ever, to a time that you are going to be fasting. So rather, when the children are growing up, we're at the age of, you know, like maybe 7, 8, or 9. Of course, it's not an obligation upon them. But at this particular age, that maybe they want to fast half a day, they want to fast a quarter of the day, or a third of the day, or something like this. So when the time for as the years go by, they can do more and more and more. And when the time for obligation comes, they seamlessly move into fasting. You know, I've met many families, alhamdulillah, that they encourage their children. They don't force them, because you should not force children. You want them to enjoy their ibadah, to enjoy their worship. That from the ages and from their own volition. If you're like from their own choice, I want to fast with you. Okay, you fast with us. So maybe they can start the day, and if they need to drink something in the middle of the day, they drink something, and then they continue with them. And then they break fast together. Okay, so there are many ways that you can do to encourage them to fast. But if the fast is not an obligation upon them, answering your question specifically, they don't have to fast, because they're not reached the age of where the matters are an obligation upon them. But at the age of 12 or 13, they're at an age where maybe they can fast maybe most of the day, if not all of a day, and maybe take one day on, one day off, as what is easiest for them. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. We're going to go to the sister's next question, which is about salah. She asks, are you able to keep, when you're praying salah, do you close your eyes or do you keep them open?
Yeah, so the ulama have mentioned that it is disliked to close your eyes. If you were to keep your eyes open and look at the place of sujood, this is preferable. But to close your eyes some of the ulama say is disliked, because it's the way of the people of the book in this matter. But if you did it, you're not sinful. It's not as though you were invalidating your prayer, but it's better to keep your eyes open. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is about salah. Again, I think I'll just ask you the rest, which are about salah. 2 more. If someone is praying at home and someone goes in front of them, what does that mean? And if someone is praying and breaks their prayer for no valid reason, what are the consequences for that?
So there are, in the well-known hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that the breaking of the prayer is by 3, okay? And one of them is a woman, she walks in front of you, between you and your sutra, is a black dog and also a donkey. However, the ulama have differed over in the interpretation of this hadith, and that, number one, it's not allowed for a person to walk in front of another person when they're praying, between them and their sutra. Even if they don't have a sutra, you have to give a distance that allows them to make sujood, and then you can walk beyond that, okay? So that's the first issue. It is not allowed for you to walk in front of somebody who is praying. If you walk in front of somebody, it's allowed for the musalli, for the person who's praying, to put their hand out to stop them passing, okay? It is allowed for you to do that. And if they persist, then you can, with a little bit more force, push them back. Of course, that's not going to happen in your home, and the person would understand the first time. But if somebody done that by accident, you continue praying. At the end, if somebody does that by accident, you finish your prayer, inshallah ta'ala, and you let that person know that you were praying and that they shouldn't do that. You shouldn't stop your prayer for no reason. Okay? In a situation like this, you don't know. Okay? Whatever's passed is passed. But in the future, there's no need for you to stop your prayer. You continue praying, inshallah. As for other reasons, stopping your prayer for no reason, then no, you shouldn't do that. Once you've started your obligatory fast, fast, your obligatory salah, for example, is that you shouldn't break it for no reason, and you may be sinful for doing that. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. We're going to go to our next caller now. So, assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister on the other side of the line. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to yourself and Shaykh Wasim Kempson.
MashaAllah. Welcome to the show, brother. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, how are you both?
Alhamdulillah. And how's your Ramadan been so far?
Alhamdulillah, very good, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Your question?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first question is regarding sajda tilawa. If a person who is listening to the tilawa and is not in the state of wudu and a sajda tilawa comes, should he perform wudu first and then do sajda tilawa, or is he permitted to do it without the wudu? Secondly, similarly, if a menstruating woman is listening to tilawa and there is sajda tilawa, what should she do? And thirdly, if the time is between Asr and Maghrib and the person has already performed Salatul Asr and then reciting Quran and Sajda Tilawa, is he permitted to do the Sajda? So this is the first question.
Okay.
The second question is, during fasting, a person mistakenly starts to eat. The other person who knows his fasting, should he immediately stop that person, or what to do?
Okay, you got that question, Shaykh? Yeah. Do you have any more questions, brother?
No, that's it for the time being, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for your call. So we'll start with the brother's second question, Shaykh.
Yeah. So the second question is that if you're in the presence of somebody whom you know should be fasting, and then you see them about to eat or drink, should you tell them? Then yes, you should tell them that if you're fasting, you should not eat or drink, to remind them. Because sometimes, a person can forget, and if a person eats or drinks unintentionally, they forget, then they continue fasting. And it is mentioned in the sound hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who fed them and gave them something to drink. So they continue fasting. But if you see it yourself, then you should tell them. It looks like you're in your own household and your wife or your son or something like that, and you know that they should be fasting, then yes, you should remind them, inshallah ta'ala. Outside of that, let's say, it's not the situation now, everything's closed, but you might be somewhere and you might see a Muslim who is maybe eating, or a woman is drinking or eating something outside. Is it for you to say, fear Allah, you should you should be fasting? Maybe they're ill, maybe they're exempt from fasting that particular day, so that's not upon you to do that. Okay? But people who you know for sure, then yes, you should mention it to them.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. And the brother's other question was regarding sajdatul tilawa with wudu.
Okay, so with regards to sajdatul tilawa, we should say first and foremost, the crux of the question, if you like, is this considered a salah? Is it considered a prayer? For the ulama who don't consider this a prayer, Allah knows, this is to be the correct opinion, it's not salah. Therefore, the conditions of salah are not applicable. So therefore, if you're in a sitting and somebody is reading Quran, and you yourself don't have wudu, and the place for sajda comes, and then you're all listening, then you're all going to perform sajda at-tilawa, the prostration of recitation. So even though you don't have wudu, it is allowed for you to make the prostration. Why? Because it is not considered salah. So based upon this, we can say for the following questions, that if a woman is on her monthly cycle, it's permitted for her to participate in the sujood, because it is not considered a salah. She doesn't have to wear hijab either, because again, it is not considered a salah.
Thank you, Shaykh. Now we're going to go to our next caller on the line now. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm calling from London. I have one question about tahajjud, but it's have a 3-part. Is that all right?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. The first question is, if you pray Salatul Tahajjud, you didn't go to sleep, you just stay up until sahur time, and then you do Tahajjud, and then you wait for Fajr. Is that called as Tahajjud? And if it is not, if it's just as you are doing Sunnah, so which one is the most, which one is most rewarded? Yeah, which one is the most good? To go to sleep and then to wake up? And he's saying tahajjud is different, salat night is different. So, Sheikh, I don't understand which one is which. Please, if you can explain it. Jazakallahu khairan. Shukran.
Thank you so much, sister. Okay, so we're going to now move to our sister's questions. Thank you so much for your call. You can listen in either through your phone if you're still on the line or through your TV, inshallah. So the sister's first question, Shaykh, was regarding tahajjud. If you don't sleep, is it still called tahajjud? Second question, is it more rewarding to sleep or not sleep?
No. So yeah, some of the ulama said it's better for you to sleep because there's an element of you striving to sleep and then waking up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some of the ulama said it is better for you to do, but bearing in mind our situations at the moment where the nights are maybe particularly short, and you fear that if you sleep then you may miss a large part of the night, you may miss your suhoor, then it is perfectly fine if you didn't sleep, that if you prayed earlier in the night, say Taraweeh, and then you waited a little while, you had something to eat, and then maybe an hour before Salat al-Fajr comes in, you wanted to pray some more, some Qiyamul Layl, some Tahajjud, same thing, okay? Then it's allowed for you to do that, even though you didn't sleep. That's absolutely fine. Now, I wanted to mention actually a very an important point with regards to suhoor. When is suhoor? We know what suhoor is. Am I allowed to ask questions, by the way?
Yes, you can, Shaykh.
I'm asking and answering my questions.
Yeah, you can ask me and I can repeat the question to you.
Okay. So when is the exact timing for suhoor?
Okay.
So you can ask me this.
Suhoor, exact timing, okay.
No, you're going to ask me the question.
I'm not going to try and answer it, even though I did for a second.
Maybe it's taking advantage of is why it's not his show.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a very important point.
So we have our question, Shaykh, from Shaykh Wasim Kempson.
Okay.
When is the exact timing for suhoor?
Okay, mashallah. So with regards to suhoor, we commonly understand it to be that pre-dawn meal that we will have. However, the ulama have specified as to when suhoor is the best time. In the time for, and the suhoor is from the word from sahar, which is the very, very last part of the night. In fact, it is from the time where you see al-fajr al-kathib, the false dawn, to the real dawn. The time that is between the false dawn, where you see a vertical line of light. In busy cities, you may not see that because of the light pollution. But it's approximately, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes before Fajr. That is the real time for suhoor. Okay? To the extent, and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, in his book Fath al-Bari, the explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari, he explains this. When exactly is suhoor? Suhoor is about 15, maybe you can extend it to 20 minutes before the coming in of Salatul Fajr. Anything before that would be considered asha, would be considered like an evening meal and not suhoor. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will be in a state of goodness and barakah as long as they delay their suhoor and they break their fast quickly and don't delay it. So the time for suhoor is about 15 or 20 minutes. You have something to eat and drink to leave as late as possible for you to get the barakah, the blessings of suhoor. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, Shaykh. And you touched on another point which I've always wondered about. Are you sinful when you say you're in the middle of something and iftar time starts, maghrib time comes in, and then you think, I'm going to do this for 5-10 more minutes till I break my fast? I don't know who does that. I don't think anyone does. But is this sinful?
Yeah, okay. So there is some of the companions of the Messenger ﷺ. We bear in mind the Prophet ﷺ at times would fast 2 days in a row. He would fast ﷺ 2 days in a row. This is not for us. This is something specific to the Prophet ﷺ. However, there is something called al-wisal, and that is a continuation of the fast. And that is that when it is maghrib, that the person wants to continue fasting, and that they go beyond, and they continue that all the way until suhoor, and then they eat and drink something. Because shortly after that, you're going to the second day, which we should not do. So some of the ulama are of the point of view that delaying or continuing the fast all the way to this particular time until suhoor time is disliked. Some of the ulama allow it. Some of the ulama allow it. But you're not sinful. But you're not sinful, okay? If we do remember that the Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will be in a state of goodness and blessings as long as they leave their suhoor late and break their fast quickly. So this is the sunnah. This is a good thing to do. And if a person was to delay it to later, it is not as though a person is going against the sunnah, because some of the companions did that, radiallahu anhum, and the Prophet didn't rebuke them for that. So if you just bear this in mind, but you're not sinful, wallahu alam.
Thank you, Shaykh. We're going to go to our next caller now. Assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm calling from Manchester.
MashaAllah, sister, welcome to the show. And your question?
My question is, as when we are allowed to hold the Musaf and read during the Tarawih Salah, are we allowed to do the same in Witr Salah, holding the Musaf and reading from it?
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
That'd be all. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much, sister. Wa iyyak. We're going to move on to the next caller, to our next caller now, and then we'll come back to your question, sister. So do stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum to our next caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Muhammad Adam and I'm speaking from Gloucester.
MashaAllah, brother Muhammad Adam. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
I'm well, Jazakallah khair. And how's your Ramadan so far?
Alhamdulillah, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone and all the viewers.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. And to you too. And your question?
Yeah, my question is with regards to the fast itself. So if there is like a husband who is quite demanding in what he wants to eat for iftar, then is the wife allowed to taste the food or will it invalidate her fast?
Okay. Did you get that, Shaykh?
If the husband is demanding, and can she taste the food? That's what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the question again, brother? One more time, please.
Yeah, so if the husband is quite demanding in what he wants to eat for iftar, so is the wife allowed to taste the food for, in readiness for the iftar or not?
In terms of what it tastes like and the flavor and all of that?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, do you have any other questions?
No, that's it, Jazakallah.
Thank you so much, brother. May Allah bless you, brother Muhammad Adam. The sister's question, Shaykh, our sister's question was about holding the Quran in witr like you're able to in Tarawih.
Yeah. So in the nafila prayer and the voluntary prayer, the vast majority of the ulama permit the holding of the mushaf for the one who's leading the prayer. If that person hasn't memorized much of the Quran, then they can hold the mushaf to read from. Now with regards to Salat al-Witr, which is prayed at the very end of the Salah, if a person intends to read long chapters after the night prayer or after Tarawih, then technically they can, but the hadi and the guidance of the Messenger ﷺ is that the witr would be a bit shorter, and it is narrated that he ﷺ in 3 rakat of witr would pray Surah Al-A'la, Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la, Qul ya ayyuha al-kafirun, and Qul huwa Allahu ahad. And if you haven't memorized those chapters, then okay, inshallah ta'ala, you hold the mushaf so that you can read those surahs to follow the practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. And the brother's question was regarding the wife. Is she able to taste the food while fasting to make sure it's right for the husband's taste?
Yes, I think essentially that's all that really needs to be mentioned actually, is that the fact that somebody, are they allowed to taste food? Yes, it's permitted for you as long as you, number one, don't swallow it. And number two is to rinse your mouth out. To rinse your mouth out so that no remnants of what you have tasted remains in your mouth, which may then lead you to swallow that. If I can mention earlier, actually, the brother Hamad, is it Tariq Hamad or Hamad Tariq? One of the names. He regularly calls me. I didn't mention one part of his question, actually, and that is performing sujood al-tilawa after Asr, once you've prayed Asr. And so, based upon the principle that it's not considered a salah, it's allowed for you to do that, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's watched along with us so far. We've come to the end of this part of our show. We're going to take a short break for a few minutes, and then we'll be back live to continue with you up until 7 p.m. So brothers and sisters, stay tuned for now. We'll be back shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. with you for the next 30 minutes live to continue with today's show. So if you have any questions, give us a call on 0203 515 0769. This number's coming and going at the bottom left side of your screen, inshallah, with our WhatsApp number and our email address. And if you're watching along on YouTube, you can leave your questions there as well, and we can put them forward to the Shaykh, inshallah, to our Shaykh, inshallah. So we'll continue with our show now. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Welcome back after the break.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Our next question is from YouTube, Shaykh, and the question is it haram to look at women with tight clothes?
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the believing men and the believing women in Surah Al-Ahzab, is chapter number 33. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ Say to the believing men, to the believing women, يُغُضُّ مِنْ أَبَصَارِهِمْ, that they should lower their gaze. That is better for them, so that they can remain purified. Now, when Allah Ta'ala gives us advice, commands us to do something, it is because it is in our benefit, quite simply. And by going against that advice of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Rabbul Alameen, it means that somewhere along the line that person is going to fall into a problem. Okay? Now, if in this weather now, where obviously you see lots of men and women, they're running around and they're wearing maybe tight clothing. If you allow your desires to be just uncontrolled, okay, this is going to arouse a desire in you to somebody who's not halal. It's not permissible for you to look at them like that. Would you like that somebody would look at your sister or your mother or your wife like that? You wouldn't like that. You would say that's unacceptable. Similarly, you should have the same respect for another person. Looking at them in a lustful way, in a desirous way, is not something that is permitted for us to do. For this reason, we lower our gaze. Okay? We lower our gaze in this manner. Because if a person just allows their sight just to be uncontrolled, then they're going to be looking at things, especially in the month of Ramadan. Especially in the month of Ramadan, where we are trying to take control of our desires, hunger and thirst, even though you feel this, but you abstain from it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, the training that you do in this month will carry you through beyond Ramadan. That things which are not permitted for you to be looking at, okay, then you refrain from doing that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to remain in line with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Allahumma ameen.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is, Assalamu alaikum. Can a 9-year-old lead the Taraweeh or any Salah with the parents at home who knows or has memorized more of the Quran than the parents?
طيب. So, the view that a child who's of age of 9 years old, they put a limit about 7 years old, no younger than that. 9 is fine, inshallah, with a couple of conditions. Number one is that they're able to recite correctly in Salah. Number two is that they know the rulings of the prayer as well. Okay? So as long as that they are able to recite correctly in the Salah and that they know the rulings concerning or pertaining to the prayer, it is permitted for them to lead the prayer. Even though the father would have most right to lead the prayer because he is the man of the house. He has most right, even though the child may know more Quran, but the person who is the adult of the house has more right to lead the Salah. If the father allows his son to lead the Salah, that's absolutely fine, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you for your answer. Our next question now, Shaykh, is if it's nearing the halfway point to Ramadan, if someone hasn't been doing so well, they're not happy with how they've been doing with their Quran, with their prayer, what's your advice for them to try and get on track to have a better Ramadan or finish it well?
This very question was going through my mind. I never said it to you, so this very question was going through my mind as I was making my journey here. And I wanted to mention this, so Jazakallah khair for asking this question. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ, that actions will be judged by their ending. So if it is the case that just over a week now has passed, and you feel that I didn't recite enough Quran, I didn't do as much as I wanted, la ba's. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you life, your soul is in your body, you're fasting and you're here and you're now, and you can do what you need to do now. Okay? You can still make this the best of Ramadan. But bear in mind that as we are sitting here next it's Friday today. Next Friday, there will be discussions amongst organizations and charities in how they're going to prepare for the last 10 nights. So that's next week. So next week, meetings will be, be happening about preparing for the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And the last 10 nights, and then Ramadan is over. So the time waits for nobody, as they say. It's not hadith, but it's reality. Time is not waiting for anybody. Time is moving. So therefore, we need to make sure that we don't miss out on these opportunities. Whatever is gone is gone. Whatever's done is done. Khalas, alhamdulillah. You need to look forward. And the hopeful Muslim, the one who's looking to, always looking to be optimistic, they're always looking forward, not looking backwards. So whatever's remaining, you're going to get the very most of it, inshallah ta'ala. Get the most out of it.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. And the coronavirus started a few weeks before Ramadan, or at least in the UK, and the rest of the world a month or so. And death is always there, Shaykh, but this just highlighted it more.
Yes.
And many people were not expecting that they would not make it to Ramadan. Death came as a surprise. And many people that maybe got unwell with the coronavirus and recovered were probably worried and thinking, am I going to make it to Ramadan? So what's the significance now, Shaykh, bearing in mind we spoke about completing it well, in the case that this could be your last Ramadan, as a reality that in next year sometime your life may come to an end by the permission of Allah. Yeah. How should you cherish then this Ramadan? And what would you miss out on if you just let it pass you without... And this is your last Ramadan.
So this is a ni'mah. This is a blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives certain people, and that is to recognize and know the blessings that are at hand. As a person who, opposed to a person who doesn't recognize the blessings that are placed in front of them and then are not grateful enough. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells that if you're thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will give you more. But if you are ungrateful, then know that the punishment of Allah is severe. So those who are in the here and now and recognize the blessings, every single day for them is the single most important day for them. To the extent maybe that they're not even looking to the future. Same companions, that either asbaht, that if you wake up in the morning, don't wait for the evening, okay? If you're here in the morning, don't expect to meet the evening. And if you make the evening, don't necessarily expect that you will meet the morning. So whatever is placed in front of you, maximize it. Don't allow that to pass you by. It's almost, if you could quantify or you could see the rewards in front of you. If you can imagine when you're walking through, wherever you're walking at home, and the money is hanging from pieces of string in your home, and you're walking around and you'll be pulling it off, all this, and you'll be collecting it. Just see, if you like, and this is from a worldly perspective, imagine this, but in a kind of hereafter perspective, that there are so many rewards for you to take. So fasting in the month of Ramadan with Eman, with faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, certainty in His reward, asking for His reward, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove your sins, forgive you of your sins. Whoever stands in prayer, similarly, a removal and an expiation of their sins. A person who is fasting will watch how they speak and watch how they interact. If there's opportunities to give charity, know that when you give charity, it doesn't decrease what you have. If you look at it from a worldly perspective, and just 3 days ago, there was a man, and subhanallah, a man, he passed by a woman and she was selling some food. And the camera's from afar. It's not staged, it's real life. And he walked past the woman, and she's selling things just to keep her, she left her own country, and she went to live in Somalia. And she's selling some bread. She knows how to make this bread, and she sells it. So the man came to her, and he asked about her situation, and he kind of gave advice, I want to, gathering some tabarru'at, some donations to, for some projects. And she makes about $3 a day. $3 a day. And then she was amazed that he's doing this. So she got her money, and what she had made that day, she gave half of it to him. Even though she has 2 children. One of her children is not even with her, because she had to leave. She couldn't afford to bring him with her, and he's 10 years old. She's in a very desperate situation. Her mother is in a situation where she needs an operation. She don't have the money for that. Her mother's with her. A very, very desperate situation. Something that is beyond what most of us have ever experienced. And then she said, I want to give charity. I want to give some charity for more needy people. And then the individual said, but you are needy. But she said, no, but you know what? There's people who are more needy than me. So she said, take this. And the man was taken aback about how a person who is in such a desperate situation is willing to give something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She didn't want nothing back. His intention was to give to her at the beginning, but he didn't mention that. And then after that, she had given something to him. He said, here is the money for the operation for your mother. And here is, find a place for your family to live. And we will pay the rent for your home. And we will purchase the athath, the furniture for your home. She said, where did you come from? Allah sent you to me. I don't deserve this. I mean, it's a beautiful story, and it's real as well. Point being that no matter how little you think you have, if you give something back, never think it decreases with what you have. Because what lies just in front of you is something beyond your imagination. If you give, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you more than you ever imagined. So in the month of Ramadan, when you see charities and when you see help orphans and you help people and this and that and the other, don't think, you start looking around and you look in your own fridge and you're looking at how much samosas you have and when we can't buy that tomorrow. Yeah, ukhti, my dear brother and sister, you're in a situation which is like you're living like a king compared to some people. So in situations like this, a Muslim never lets that time go. Never lets that time go. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, whenever he saw a poor person, or even they were enslaved, pay to get them freed. Pay to get them freed. Pay for it, give it, and then your reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ramadan is no better time to do that. Allahu A'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Thank you for that. Our next question, Shaykh, is going to be from YouTube, and the question is, Assalamu alaikum. If you're allergic to grass or pollen and you're fasting, but you have to take the pill to relieve that, what do you do?
Okay. So these antihistamine tablets that you take, if you can take it as late as possible, obviously taking the pill in the daytime will nullify your fast. If you can take it early in the morning, just before Salat al-Fajr in suhoor time, now we know exactly when suhoor is, okay? 15-20 minutes before Fajr time, that's the true time for suhoor. If you can take the medicine at that time, in the hope that inshallah ta'ala it can take you through the day, then you do that inshallah ta'ala. People are of different levels of concerning hay fever and situations like that. So you might want to take it a day at a time. Sometimes, a person, I was speaking to a brother a few days ago that the hay fever got so bad that their eyes bulged up in kind of like this kind of, I don't want to use kind of a clean word, some gunge, and they couldn't even see out of their eyes. It was so bad. In a situation like that, by taking some medicine, it alleviates from them, then they would be permitted to break their fast for that reason. If other than that, it's a little bit itchy in my eye, and it's something you can deal with, then try, you should fast, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah. So, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. If you think you can get through the fast, then fast, okay? If it's absolutely beyond something you can deal with, then you come under a sick person, you break your fast, and you make up the day in the future, and that's all upon you, inshallah.
Thank you, Shaykh. With that, we're going to go to our next caller of the show. Assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister on the other side of the line. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from? You're live on Ask Eman. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Ahmed. I am calling from Morocco.
MashaAllah. How are you, Brother Ahmed? You okay?
Well, I want to take this advantage, to ask a few questions.
Yeah.
I have two questions,
You can go ahead.
Yes. Well, the first one, could you please inform me about the correct action to be taken I mean, the beginning of this month, the first day, I overslept, but because my bedroom has blacked out windows, could not see that the time was beyond Fajr. Both my husband and both my wife and I had some chocolates which I had in my bedroom. Only after getting up did we realize we were late. What does Islam say about such a matter? Must we repay this day, or must we fast for 16 consequence days as for the person who willfully broke his fast?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this oversleeping Fajr or oversleeping Maghrib?
No, Fajr.
Okay.
Before, yes. Before Fajr, before the Subh prayer, you know.
Yes.
I mean, at the break of dawn, you know, because there is a few seconds we have to, you know, so.
Yeah, okay. And your next question?
Well, oh, yeah, I forget.
It's okay, take your time, brother.
Yes. The first question, a person bought some land intending to use it for his dwelling. And after 3 years passed, he changed his intention to use it for trade. Is there any zakat due on the past year?
Okay.
Thanks.
You got that, the second reason? Okay then. Thank you so much, brother. May Allah reward you.
And Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem to you too. Jazakallah khair for calling from all the way from Morocco. Okay, we're going to go now to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister. Welcome to the show. What's your question for us today?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To yourself and Shaykh Wasim Kempson. I have 3 questions this time, if that's okay.
Okay, do you mind just speaking into the phone a little closer, just so we can hear you, please?
Hello, is that better?
That's much better. Yes, you can go ahead.
First question is if a person's teeth start bleeding and that person cleans that blood with his or her own clothes, would that be considered as najasa? And what size of the spot should it be before it requires cleaning and washing?
Okay.
Second question, a person performing Salatul Tarawih alone at home, should it be doing it jahran or sirran?
Okay.
The third question is from my daughter. She says that if mother and daughter are of 2 different religions, can they be buried together as per their wishes in the graveyard, if not in a piece of land which they own?
Okay.
That's it. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, brother. May Allah reward you. We have loads of callers on the line, so we're going to quickly go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister. Welcome to the show. What's your question for us today?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. You can go ahead with your question, sister.
First, I have 2 questions. First question is, what's the minimum number of rakats we can pray Tarawih at home?
Okay.
And second question, is it permissible to take a shower before Maghrib and fasting?
Okay. Thank you so much, sister, for your question. Stay tuned and we'll answer that just shortly. We're going to move on now to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister. Welcome to the show. What's your question for us today?
My question is regarding suhoor. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you guys for the good work you're doing, and may He accept our ibadah.
Ameen. Ameen. Ameen, sister.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. It's regarding suhoor. Is it compulsory that we should eat suhoor in the morning? Because sometimes we don't feel like eating, just drink. But I just wake up and drink water. And secondly, what's the time that we should stop eating suhoor in the morning before Fajr?
Okay. Thank you so much, sister. Keep watching, inshallah, and we'll get to your question just in a few minutes after we take all of our calls, inshallah.
Okay.
So we're going to move on now to our next caller on the line. Okay, then we don't have any more calls, alhamdulillah. We're going to wait until our brothers and sisters call us even more, and then we can answer your questions. Thank you so much to everyone who's just called now, and we'll start answering your questions. So our next question, Shaykh, is from our brother who called all the way from Morocco, mashallah, and I have to say his English was excellent.
Mashallah.
He was using some words
Yes, right.
that I was very impressed by, so may Allah bless him, give him more of an eloquent tongue. So the brother's question was regarding oversleeping during Fajr.
Yeah, so if somebody eats or drinks by accident while they are fasting, okay, then they continue fast. They continue fasting and there's no sin upon them. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever eats or drinks nasiyan and that they are forgetful, they didn't know, they realize, they continue fasting. There's no 60 days. Okay, the 60 days is only applicable if a person has, a husband and wife have intimacy during the day of Ramadan, then it is upon them to fast 60 days, okay? It's got nothing to do with the person, even if a person, you know, astaghfirullah, was to break their, eat during the day intentionally. There's no 60 days upon them. Okay, if a person was to eat during the day, what is upon them is to make tawbah, sincere tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to make that day up in the future, okay? So 60 days is something separate from that.
Thank you, Shaykh. Next question from the brother was, if someone purchased land intending to use it for living and then changed their intention afterward to use it for trade, is zakat required for this land?
Yeah. So during the time that it was not up for trade, it was not for sale, there's no zakat on it, okay? Because you intended to maybe build on it or to live there. During this period, there is no zakah. Only the time when you intended to sell it, then after that, zakah may be due on it.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Our next question was from our brother who explained, if you bleed from your teeth and you clean it with your clothes, is this considered najasa? And in addition, what time do you have before you need to clean your clothes?
Okay, so if you used your clothes to stem some bleeding in your mouth, and it's a very small amount, then this wouldn't be najas. This would not be impure. Only if the blood is a lot and it is flowing, gushing, then it may be considered najas. But in the small state like this, it isn't. It's not najas.
Thank you, Shaykh. Before we continue with our questions, we're going to take our next caller now. So, assalamu alaikum to our brother or sister. Welcome to the show. What's your question for us today?
Okay. I'd like to ask a question regarding waswasa and impurities.
Okay.
Yeah. So my little brother, weeks ago, he urinated on a certain place on our couch, and this was weeks ago. And today, my garment was a bit wet, and my other brother pushed me, like on the place where the urine dried. So I went to change my clothes, and I thought, okay, so if I change it and I wash my hands and I touch another garment, does it become impure again, or?
Got it. Yeah. Do you have another question?
Yeah. My second question is, how do I approach or how do I stop waswasa regarding impurities? Because sometimes I don't touch the handles because I think that maybe there's an impurity on the handle because, you know, someone uses the washroom and they touch the handle. So
Yes.
yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Yes. How to deal with waswasa. Okay. Thank you so much, brother. May Allah reward you. Stay tuned and we'll answer your question shortly. Jazakallah khair. Shaykh, our next question is, when praying at home Taraweeh alone, do you pray loudly or quietly?
In the night prayer, you pray, even if you're alone, you pray loudly so you can hear yourself, inshallah ta'ala. It's not prayed like Dhuhr or Asr. You pray loud so you can hear yourself, inshallah.
Okay, and our next question is, if a mother and a daughter are from different faiths, can they be buried in the same place?
Yeah, so it is a requirement that when Muslims are buried, that the Muslims are buried with Muslims. Alhamdulillah, there are facilities here in the UK where there are Muslim graveyards where Muslims are buried with Muslims. Not permitted for the Muslims to be buried with those of other faiths or no faiths. So this should answer the question, inshallah.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is, what are the minimum raka'at for Taraweeh when you're praying at home?
So if you're at home and you pray your Salat al-Isha, let's say you prayed your Sunnah for Salat al-Isha after that too, and the minimum amount is 2 rak'ah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul Layli mathna mathna. The night prayer is prayed in twos. So if you just simply want to pray 2 rak'ah, that's enough for you, inshallah. May Allah accept. But don't forget to pray with it after, inshallah.
Okay, Shaykh. Next question is it permissible to shower after Maghrib time?
Yes, you can shower after Maghrib and you can shower before Maghrib. It's not a problem, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah.
And what is the time for suhoor?
So the time for you to stop eating and drinking is the time for Salat al-Fajr entering. So if, let's say for example, Fajr comes in at 5 a.m., okay, you can eat and drink up until 4:59, okay, up until that time. After that, at 5, you must stop eating and drinking completely. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. That brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much, Shaykh Wasim, for joining us today. Apologies to the brother who asked the question about waswasa. If you'd like to call after the show to get your answer and you really need it, then please do call. For now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.